Welcome to CloudCherry. In this video, we will cover off a quick end-to-end demonstration of the CloudCherry product and how you can use it to deliver customer delight. When you log into CloudCherry, the first thing that you would see is the overall experience of your customers presented with an end-to-end journey. Here's an example of an end-to-end journey that helps you understand the different stages of the journey that a customer goes through when they interact with your brand, as well as what the high points and the low points of their experience with you were. Through this, you can easily understand which stages represent the high points and what they like the most, and which stages represent the low points and things that they dislike the most. We also present very specific actionable goals with suggestions about things that you could do in order to drive improvement at those specific stages. All of this is enabled because of CloudCherry's ability to listen across the entire journey, powered by our 17 plus different channels that help us listen across all the touch points at which customers interact with your business. Now, once we've looked at overall experience, it's often helpful to come in and look at key metrics that measure experience. You could do this by coming in and checking the overall pulse of your customers. This presents some of the key scores that you would want to track on a periodic basis. Things like Net Promoter Score, CSAT scores, as well as even financial metrics through which it could help you understand how work that you're putting into towards experience is having an impact not only on your end consumer, but also on your business stakeholders. So checking Pulse lets you track all the different scores that matter at an overall experience level, and also lets you benchmark to understand how your business is doing versus others who are comparable within your industry segment. You could also look at overall sentiment of your customers, which is powered by our deep learning sentiment analysis, which provides up to 99% accuracy in looking both at verbatim as well as mining social media, chat transcripts, and other unstructured text data sources to help you understand the overall sentiment of your customers. Once you looked at overall pulse and looked at the snapshot, it can be helpful to also monitor trends so that you understand whether these scores were either improving or decreasing over time. At an overall experience level, it would be helpful to look at this at a longer timeline, to look at it, for instance, quarter over quarter, since sometimes at shorter time spans, there may be noise which you would want to ignore when looking at things overall. You can set up as many different trends as you want to in order to slice and dice the data and understand these patterns. Now, while looking at trending aspects of your customers, it's also important to know what customers are talking about and if there are any new emerging topics that are surfacing. This is possible in a simple way using our word cloud widget, which helps surface keywords or topics that customers are talking about, powered by our theme analytics. Once you've looked at overall experience, you may also want to come and look at details of specific responses to understand what customers may have said at an overall level and to go through their individual feedback. You may also find it helpful to then analyze the specific feedback coming in, and in order to drill down into this further. This is possible through our response analysis section, which provides an easy interactive way through which you can come in and literally with a few clicks opt to drill down further to understand experience. As an example, if you wanted to come in, you could choose to come and drill down to understand how people in the age group under 18 had an experience with your business. So literally in a couple of clicks, you can drill down with these interactive filters to come in and look at users under the age group of 18 who may have been male or female, or even drill down based on feedback on specific questions to understand who were the users who had trouble with loan recommendations or at a certain stage of the journey. Now, while it is helpful to understand overall experience, it's important to think of this in the context of the overall journey as well. So once you've looked at it overall at a journey level, you can then come in and analyze it touch point by touch point to understand at different touch points across the journey what experience looks like. So let's come in and take a look at what the branch experience looked like. We provide the ability to track any metric that you care about. So you could be tracking CSAT at certain touch points, NPS at others, or CES at others. So here as well, you may come in and check the overall pulse of your customers. You could also opt to use our delight meter, which lets you set up a custom index to track overall experience. From here, at a touch point level, you may want to come in and drill down into monitoring trends similar to what you did at an overall level, but specifically at this touch point. You may then come through to understand different segments of your customers, to understand how their journeys were different with you, because each customer's journey is fairly unique. Understanding these segments can quickly highlight underserved groups of customers that may be needing attention. This could be users at very specific locations, users with experiencing specific products, or at different stages of the journey, or even loyalty tiers, so that you could understand whether the more valuable customers are the ones that are getting the most attention. Now, while you may compare journeys, it's important to understand what to prioritize. Now, the simplest way to look at this is really understanding what customers like the most and what they dislike the most, since this offers a simple actionable insight around what you may want to act on. We'll next review the website related touchpoint with more examples of how you may want to prioritize action. At the website, as an example, you may want to prioritize things by not just looking at what customers like the most or dislike the most, but looking at overall experience. The reason this is important is sometimes areas where customers may have rated you the most may not necessarily be the most important to you. So our impact analysis runs with a simple predictive model, which helps you then understand what is the most important for your customers and offers simple, easy to understand goal recommendations, which tell you exactly what you need to do in order to drive your scores up and provide a lift to both your overall CX metrics as well as to financial performance. Now, this often brings up the question of, look, what if we worked on this? What impact would that really have? Now, you can actually track this right within CloudCherry. Now, let's imagine that you had an insight here which told you that if you worked on improving ease of use and boosted the ratings, there would be an impact on your overall scores. Now, what if your website team actually acted on it? Let's try to understand how you would track impact using CloudCherry. Now, let's look at an example where an experiment was run to see between two different variants of the website compared with the original website, what impact was there on the scores. So here's an example of the results of experiments that were run, where the current website had an ease of use score of 3.39, and the two variants that were tested, variant A had a significantly higher score. Now, it's also helpful to understand what impact it had on NPS. You can come in and look at NPS for each group separately, and you could then see that the scores overall for variant A were significantly higher. For the purposes of the experiment, you may also want to come in and understand what users are very specifically saying to see if the verbatim helps you understand if the results were what you actually hope to achieve. So through this, it gives you a simple way to come through and check the overall pulse of your customers, monitor ongoing trends, compare different segments of customers and their unique journeys with you, to prioritize action based on very simple algorithmic recommendations powered by a deep data science practice at CloudCherry, and then actually track impact to see if we worked on it, did it actually even move the needle? Sometimes when you're tracking impact and running experiments, investments needed in order to move the needle can be significant. And it can be difficult to understand whether these are things which will truly have a significant impact or not. In order to do this, we provide an advanced analysis tool called path analysis. This is powered by a causal model called structural equation modeling. Many of us hear the words correlation is not causation. CloudCherry is unique in the CX space in having the only causal model built into the product, which helps you then look at both direct and indirect influences on overall scores and to disentangle them to understand what it is that will actually move the needle. The reason this is important is in the experiential context, many of our different senses have overlay with each other, and many of the different attributes that contribute to experience actually have influences on each other. Path analysis helps you disentangle this and get to very actionable insights to drive more strategic decisions around larger investments that you may be attempting to make. And finally, beyond this is also the ability then to predict the actual outcome, which is powered by a predictive module, which we will cover off in a separate video. So this covers off at a broad level some of the key features of CloudCherry that would help you understand your customers and make better decisions that impact your business and drive improvements while improving and truly delighting your customers.